Hello, this is the Kratom Sobriety Podcast. My name is Charlie, and our special guest this week on the Wednesday episode is with Laura Solomon. She's with Advanced Rapid Detox based in Michigan. She's going to talk about the services that her facility offers to people struggling with Kratom. Welcome, Laura.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. We like to have people introduce themselves, just, general background. If you met a stranger on the street, how would you introduce yourself?
The elevator pitch. Okay.
Yes.
I am the director of Advanced Rapid Detox. We are a 4-day opiate detox center, and using the word opiate loosely because 20% of our patients come to us to get off Kratom. I am the mother of a recovering person who is close to 10 years clean. And I'm a mother of 8 sons and 1 daughter. My kids range between 25 and 37. And I do this mostly because in the situations I've found myself in with some of my kids, trying to get them help, we were treated so poorly and with such stigma and shame that I wanted to be able to be a part of really giving people grace and understanding and love in a really difficult situation. So I've been here close to 9 years, about 4,000 or 5,000 patients. So it's been a blessing.
Yeah, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Off the top of your head, if 20% of your patients are Kratom folks, do you remember how much it was 5 or 10 years ago?
5 or 10 years ago, it was 0. I would say that the influx of patients coming to us to get off Kratom and Kratom type products, and when I say products, I mean anything that they can find at the health food store, the gas station, and the smoke shop, that's all been the last 2 years. We never saw it before that.
Okay. Could you give us an overview of what the Advanced Rapid Detox, what the services look like?
So our patients come to us on a Monday, or let's call it day 1. Our patients come to us day 1. They have all their labs, all of their blood work, their urine drug screen, their case planning meeting with the doctor. They meet with a therapist. That's the day that they kind of get checked in, and they come from all over the country. We treat up to 10 patients a week. And that really eliminates the whole conversation we hear about that the people who've had issues don't just have Kratom in their system. They do. It's just Kratom in their system. That's it. It's not like they're mixing Kratom with illicit substances. On day 2, our Dr. Aronoff is a board-certified anesthesiologist and addiction specialist. She puts them under IV sedation so that they are essentially sleeping through withdrawals. They're sleeping for between 8 and 16 hours, depending on how long it takes them to go through all their withdrawals. They're monitored, obviously. And once they're finished with the withdrawals, they can choose to get Vivitrol, which is an opiate blocker, or naltrexone, same thing, but it's a daily tablet. And those just block the cravings that people have for the things we treat: Suboxone, methadone, Kratom, tyanapine, fentanyl. If there was heroin, it would be heroin, and as well as pain medication. Then they rest and recuperate the next day. We're a private hospital in Farmington Hills, Michigan. And then if they have any lingering symptoms, the can't sleep, restless leg, nausea, any of those, we have non-addictive temporary transitional meds just for a few days until those symptoms pass. And then on day 4, they head home off of everything. And we do have counseling available for people who, if it's a root cause issue versus what I would call an accidental dependence, then we have the counseling available for root cause issues.
So you do treat people with Kratom addiction that kind of went in naively. They were buying this over the counter.
Yeah. I would say 99% of the people that come to us on Kratom were accidental. They went into the gas station or the health food store or the smoke shop, and someone said to them, John, you really should try this because it gives you energy. It helps with pain. It'll may help you sleep better. You trust the people that you frequent at a smoke shop, a gas station. I mean, my husband goes to the same gas station every week and, hey, Jeff, how you doing? Oh, man, have you thought about trying this? He might say yes. I don't know. And so I would say 99% of them go into it just really trusting someone who suggests something. Yeah. And then they get trapped by one, and then they buy it for a week and a month and a year. And it just is a really slippery slope.
Well, you are on the forefront of the opioid epidemic.
Yes.
While this interview is going to be mostly about Kratom, I did want to take a step back and talk about some of the context. My understanding there's 80,000 people who die from opioid overdoses every year in the United States.
I would say much more than that.
Okay. So what are you seeing on a daily basis? You made a reference that if they were on heroin, we know that it's hard to get some of the drugs on the street these days, and it makes it even more dangerous to being involved in addiction. But what do you see being a direct service provider?
So I have, as I said, been here 9 years. And when I started here, people were taking real, legitimate Oxy, Roxy, Opana, hydrocodone, Percocet, and it was real pills from a real doctor. And then the trajectory of that went to the DEA stepping in, and doctors had to cut people off. Some of those people came to us to get off of their pain meds at that point. And then it slid into people having to go out and buy medication on the street. And they're not taking it to get high most of the time. They're taking it just not to be sick. And so once COVID hit, I would say that was around the time that we stopped ever seeing anyone test positive for heroin ever again. We can't get a blood test or a urine test that shows positive for heroin, not one in 4 years.
Wow.
Everything is fentanyl, and the pills that people are buying on the street are fake, and they're laced, and they're fentanyl. Along with this trajectory of fentanyl comes things that are mixed in that people truly didn't expect. Most of the fentanyl is spiked with MDMA or meth, because as opposed to just nodding off, the suppliers put the meth in to keep people awake and alert as opposed to just dying. It's really frightening. And what's more frightening is the stigma used to be that it was a low-end person who would be addicted to these things. And our patients are upscale. We see everything from dancers to doctors, strippers to preachers. We see literally everything. Sex workers to social workers. Like we see everything. There is no demographic anymore at all.
It sounds very dangerous.
It's horrifying. And I would say the majority of our patients come to us mostly because one of their friends or family members has recently died. And it scares them enough to figure out a way to get treatment and be serious about it. And at the 5-year mark, our patients are still clean 85% of the time.
That's a pretty good success rate.
Thank God.
Yeah. So with that context, we know that Kratom at some level is safer than buying fentanyl off the street that's laced with meth.
Correct.
It comes with a bunch of its own risks, and the marketplace is unregulated.
Right.
And the people are uninformed many times when they get involved into Kratom. And many of us have really bad withdrawals. And that's why a service like yours, there's a demand for it.
Right. And I think that's the main thing. We don't down anybody's way to recover from anything. If Kratom is a way to recover, that's fabulous. If ketamine therapy is a way to recover, or NAD, or standing on your head, I don't care what it is. I'm happy you're recovering, and I'm happy that you are off something unsafe, illegal that will kill you. That's all good. But there should be some precursor that says, just so you know, if you want to be on something for a limited period of time in a short window, go for it. But people should be made well aware. What we have seen is the withdrawals from Kratom are worse than the withdrawals from fentanyl.
We hear that kind of testimony on our podcast a lot.
Yes. I mean, the patients technically do better afterwards than the people coming off fentanyl because there's not, the same things mixed into it, meth or MDMA or, PCP, xylazine. Those things aren't mixed into Kratom, let's say. But people should know the implied risk that they're taking in terms of withdrawals after. And
while rare, there is the risk of death, too.
Thank you. Yes.
We've had several mothers and other relatives on the podcast. Yeah. So, well, what are the clients who have a kratom addiction or dependency? What kind of symptoms are they having? What does the progression of their disease look like?
So I would say the first thing is from a therapeutic level is the shame that they didn't know better. Listen, if you're going out and buying fentanyl, you know what you're buying. If you go out and buy pills from a guy on a street, a corner, you're calling your dude, you're getting a supply, picking up, you know what you're doing. It's a little more brazen, if you will, where when patients become dependent on kratom, they're really ashamed because they really feel like I'm a person who should know better.
Mm-hmm.
And how was I duped by the guy at the gas station or the smoke shop or the health food store, for God's sake? How am I told that these shots or feel good, feel free, whatever it's called, the blue thing? How did I not know this? How did I not do my research? So I would say the first symptom is shame. The second thing is the overwhelming sense of guilt for their budget, their wife, their husband. How did they go from buying a little thing to like spending $1,000 a week on something?
Yeah.
So there's that. What have I done? And then the physical part of it, which is the incredible constipation, the lack of sex drive, the dependence of having to consume this sludge. And then there's the part about, oh my God, we tried to stop and we couldn't. And going through withdrawals they didn't expect. Then there's the color. People turn a weird color. They're literally walk in my office and they're a different color on Monday than they are when they're detoxed on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really multifaceted what we see as the result of getting stuck on this stuff.
And just up front, it's not just extract clients. You see folks that are on the powder too, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. This is powder people. This is tea. This is the little drinks, the
tonic.
Any formulation. People, I've had people who've mixed it in smoothies, drank it. It's not extract people only. No.
How is a rapid detox different from a traditional detox?
So I can't speak to other detoxes traditionally in general, because again, I'm happy people get help anywhere. And I can't speak to what other places do because I don't work there.
Mm-hmm.
But what we hear is that people don't have 30 days to sit somewhere and they don't want to feel what withdrawals feel like. So the benefit to what we do is they can sleep through it.
Yes. Well, could you tell us about the doctor who founded the center and her qualifications?
Sure. So she is a board certified anesthesiologist and addiction specialist. She's been doing this 17 years. In addition to being brilliant, she's just a really nice person. I mean, we're all mothers there and we try to, we treat our patients like they're our kids because for the most part, the patients are in our kids' age groups and we treat up to age 60, patients 18 to 60. And she's just very hands-on. She went from traditional anesthesiology, where you don't really have a lot of patient contact. You see them before they go to sleep, to doing this, which is very hands-on for her.
And I read in your description on your website that you're licensed.
Yes. So there are 3 rapid detox centers in Michigan. We're the only one that's licensed by the state of Michigan. And we're in-house. We're a 4-day private hospital. So our patients are here 4 days in our facility versus the other 2 places that do the procedure in a surgical center and then have patients recover in a hotel. We do not believe it's safe to recover from anything in a hotel. And certainly nobody should be practicing medicine in a hotel.
You already touched on this, but is there anything more you could talk about the difference between kratom withdrawals or similarities with other drugs?
When we look at the withdrawal profile of the patients we see, again, Suboxone, methadone, kratom, and fentanyl are the major ones. The withdrawals from Suboxone are perhaps the easiest, followed by methadone, because those are regulated medications.
Mm-hmm.
They're FDA-approved, regulated medications. We know what to expect in those type of withdrawals. But when you become a cowboy and get fentanyl. It's unregulated and it's mixed with things. Those withdrawals are difficult, for the patients, attainable, but very difficult. And then with Kratom, it's, the doctor portrays it, it's really more like an exorcism than it is a withdrawal. And the patients peak out a lot quicker and a lot harder, and then it's over quicker and they recover much easier than what we tend to see with other types of substances.
And I know you're not a doctor, but broadly, do you know what kind of medications you use to ease and comfort?
So that I can speak to. Again, everything we do is very individualized for each patient. I would say that the most common symptoms people have afterwards in general are restless leg, which we give Requip or gabapentin. We give for sleep Seroquel, Trazodone, or Remeron. For chills and creepy crawlies, we give Clonidine or Lucimyra. Nausea, we give promethazine or Zofran. Again, we're a private hospital. Anything somebody needs, like we had a patient the other day say, this med works best for me. Okay, then that's what she'll get. She knows herself. We trust that the patients are basically street pharmacists at this point. They know what works. They've tried before to do this. And if that's what works for them, that's what we're going to give.
And are these all short-term prescriptions?
Yes. If a patient leaves on day 4, which is generally on, let's say, a Thursday, they leave, we tell them to take the medications maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday. By Monday, they should be pretty normal and back to work.
And since you treat people who are withdrawing from Suboxone, does that mean you don't prescribe Suboxone?
No, Dr. Aronoff can write Suboxone. If a patient comes to us who is not in physical condition enough to come off fentanyl with our normal process, she can do a hybrid process where she moves them safely to Suboxone and then tapers them off. But as a whole, she does not prescribe Suboxone, no.
Got it. Is there any safety protocols you do just so while people are in there? It's great that you're not in a hotel room. I've heard some people be concerned about that.
Yeah.
What kind of safety processes do you have in place just to make sure?
Well, the first safety process is pre-screening them before they get here. I mean, again, our patients come in from all over the country. We certainly don't want someone coming from California or Nevada, Philadelphia, wherever they're coming from, unless we have really done our due diligence before they get here. Prior to coming, they have a meeting on the phone with a registered nurse who goes through about an hour of questions and answers to determine if they're a good candidate. And then if they're over 40, they have to have a treadmill stress test in their home area to determine safety. So once they get here, we're 99% sure that everything is fine. Then when they get here, they have to have an EKG. They have to have their blood work done. They have to have their urine drug screen done. They meet with a respiratory therapist. We do a whole lot on the medical end on Monday to determine that they're a good candidate. And thank God, in 17 years, we have not had a problem.
What are some of the misconceptions about kratom addiction and detox that you frequently encounter?
I could have a full-time job if I wanted to, arguing with people who claim that we are uneducated and have no knowledge of anything related to kratom. It could literally be a full-time job arguing with people who believe mistakenly that it is just like coffee. It's just like tea, and coffee and tea could be addictive and kill you just the same way as kratom. We hear a lot about the mothers and fathers who've given testimony to the loss of their children, who are insulting and demeaning and patronizing to these poor families who have gone through literal hell and back. And I have seen the toxicology reports on some of their family members, and all that was in their system was kratom. It's infuriating. The pro-kratom people who have threatened the lives of me, threatened the lives of my family, who have ducked me with cease and desist letters, had attorneys calling me, telling me to pipe down and not bring up any of this, has been astounding. astounding.
Yeah, it is really amazing, this belief. And I think some of them do believe it, but it's nuts. It's nuts. It's just nuts.
Right. And I think everything isn't a one size fits all. If a person, we hear about people who say, I've taken Kratom and I can stop and there's no problem. Well, good for you. Congratulations. I'm sure maybe they could take oxycodone and have it not be a problem either. That's great. I'm happy for them. But that doesn't reflect the experience of other people who are addicted or dependent or who have lost family members. And they should take that into consideration because it's ridiculous to discount someone else's experience.
Yes, it's a really misguided effort to try to advocate for keeping Kratom legal. There's a more rational way to present it where it has risks and benefits. We
Right.
acknowledge some of the negatives, and which include addiction and some death.
Yes.
And just this whole mass denialism that this is all fake news is maddening. So I was watching one of your YouTube videos and you talked about one of the joys of your job is this before and after when you work with clients. Tell me about that.
To see and hear people experience a sense of freedom, to hear them be relieved of the shame of their uninformed choice, to see them and hear them not be shackled anymore to something that they didn't have any knowledge of or plan on being addicted or dependent to. It's very freeing. It's like letting someone out of jail. And we just hear the most powerful testimonies, and mostly all of our patients volunteer to talk to the next guy, which I think is the beauty of our practice. If I had to say one thing, it would be that we have such gracious, kind patients who volunteer to talk to people and share their experience. I can text 100 people at any time and say, hey, Charlie, do you mind talking to Bob from Vegas? He is considering coming here to get off Kratom or Suboxone or methadone or whatever. Do you mind talking to him? Can he text you? And sure, Laura, anytime. And they share their stories, and it really changes people's lives because theirs was changed. So it's an unbelievable gift that these patients give to others.
That is one of the beautiful things about recovery in the community.
Yes.
So what kind of support systems or follow-up does your center offer, or do you encourage people to pursue after they detox to stay off Kratom and sustain their abstinence?
So again, any recovery is good recovery. We offer lots of different suggestions. When we meet with people, we say, are you the type who's going to want to go to a meeting? Because if you are, here's a list of meetings. Are you the type of person who wants telehealth and a therapist, or do you want an in-person therapist? We can help you find whatever you need. Do you need a 30-day program? Because if you do, and you have insurance or you don't have insurance, let's advocate for you and find you something in your area. So we try to tailor it to exactly what it is that the person needs and wants and is willing to do. For some people, it's a root cause issue that they need long-term assistance after. And for some people, they got caught up unknowingly and they have no root cause issue. They just wanted to sleep better or feel better. And it wasn't a root cause issue. Then they can just go on about their life. So it's really more contingent on what that person, what their profile is and what they need to improve their situation long-term and make it sustainable.
What emerging trends are you seeing around Kratom, and how has that influenced and shaped your services, and what have you been seeing in patients?
I would say it's just getting to be more prevalent in the places that I described, the gas stations, the smoke shops, the health food industry. We have been seeing a lot in terms of trend, college students who've gotten stuck on Kratom because they've been hustled at their campuses by student athletes who are promoting this product, which is particularly disturbing to me. I have two sons who are former college athletes, and the thought of these athletic directors allowing their student athletes to promote a product that is addictive or creates dependence for college students is sickening. And I've written letters to almost every athletic director out there warning them about what they're doing. I don't think they care because money is important to Division I athletics.
So those listening who might have a family member that's addicted to Kratom or dependent on Kratom, do you have a message that when you talk to relatives of people that are afflicted to help them?
Well, I think the most important thing is communication, letting people know that regardless of what they're doing, that you care about them, you love them, and you accept whatever they tell you without judgment. I remember my son, me saying, "What's the most important thing I can do?" And he said, "Have my back." And so, for a friend or family member, the most important thing is whatever you tell me, I got you, and I'll be a resource for you. And there's nothing you could say to me that I haven't seen or done or heard. And if it's something that I'm not familiar with, I will dig in and find out for you. So let me help you. And you don't have to be ashamed to tell me whatever it is, because that's what keeps people from talking about sickness. And I always have an analogy. I'm 62 years old. And when I was young, nobody talked about suicide or divorce or being gay. And now there's parades and,
Yeah.
everybody discusses divorce and cancer and being gay, and nobody cares. It's not a thing. But the stigma is still there for addiction. And so the things that cause people to kill themselves are the things we don't talk about. And so let's yell about it and talk about it and not be keeping people in shame-based silence.
I really like that. And that's one of our unintentional missions at the podcast. If you consume a product like this, a certain number of us, our brains are going to react to it that way just
Right.
because of brain chemistry. It's not like a moral failing.
Right.
And,
Thank you.
and there's this like worship of the plant. Like the reason that you had a bad experience was because you didn't properly respect it or something.
Right. Well, it's interesting because, we're not that far apart in age. And I remember like other plants that people villainized. And now every city has stores with those plants and its products for sale, but it's because it became regulated and people were informed. So I think, again, it may be a great plant. That's so cute. I'm so happy. But how about we regulate it and let people know the up and down side, just like anything else?
Yes, agreed. Well, I bet one of the most common questions you get is how much does the treatment cost?
Yes, that's the question. That's the golden ticket. The rate for 4 days in this private hospital is $9,900. We have payment plans. The top insurance companies like Aetna, Cigna, and Blue Cross do reimburse some of it or all of it. We do have grants and scholarships, and yes, there is a waiting list, but they come through, and we do treat many people every year for free. It is doable and it is tax deductible. We try to keep it as affordable as we can, but when we encourage people to do what we call drug math, when you're spending $1,000 a week on Kratom, that's $52,000 a year. $500 a week is $25,000 a year. $9,900. No, it's not free, and no, it's not covered by Medicaid, and no, it's not covered by traditional insurance. But it's a lot less than anybody spends on anything that we see them for.
Yes, and I'm glad it's an option and it's something that's out there that is available. Many or maybe even most of our listeners might not be able to afford the services. Do you have any recommendations for someone going through withdrawals on their own?
Yes. So there is a medication that is available. It's a 10-day long medication. Any doctor can write it, and it is not a controlled substance. It's called Lucemyra, Lucemyra, and you can learn about it at lucemyra.com. It is a cumulative medication that covers almost every withdrawal symptom. Your doctor may tell you it's the same as clonidine, but it's not. Any doctor who tells you that it's the same as clonidine has not looked into it. So do your due diligence and explain to your doctor, educate them on Lucimyra. Depending on how hard you withdraw, it may be an option to do yourself at home. And any urgent care or primary physician can write it, and it may resolve the problem for you at home on your own.
We have covered that as a resource of the week, and thank you for the reminder. In the show notes, we'll put information about your advanced rapid detox in there, and I'll put a note about this prescription drug on our show notes.
Sure.
We've already touched on this, but I want to give you another chance to refute things. I know you hear this ridiculous claim that you are just exaggerating to make Kratom withdrawals sound bad, to beef up your business. You're just trying to profit off this. I imagine you probably see enough people through traditional drugs and street drugs that you don't need to make up business. But so please comment on this nonsense, please.
So again, I've been here 9 years. 7 of those years, there was no Kratom, and we still treated 400 or 500 patients every year. If we never treated Kratom again, we'd be just fine. If they regulated it and we never saw another patient, I'd be thrilled. But with that being said, there's no reason to bother exaggerating. We can listen to all the rhetoric about how it doesn't cause withdrawals all day long and how it's sugar and tea and coffee and we're exaggerating. But we have the beef. we have the patients. We have the patients who can be called, talked to, interviewed, who can tell you personally about the hellish, brutal, exorcistic withdrawals they went through. It's not me talking about it. It's the people who've been through it themselves. So if somebody wants to sit and say it's an exaggeration, it's just really a demeaning insult to the people who've lived through it. And so shame on you. And you can say that it's coffee and tea and sugar and it's nothing. But I've talked to the mothers who've lost their beautiful, young, healthy children who only had that in their system. And if you want to spew your rhetoric about how safe and wonderful it is, shame on you, because these mothers buried their children. And I've seen the toxicology reports, so shame on you.
Yeah, and you made a reference to the Wendy's commercial, Show Me the Beef. So we both grew up in the 80s, and there was some drug hysteria in the 80s where the negatives of this is your brain on drugs, there was like a hysteria. But this is the opposite is going on with Kratom, where it's understated the issues with it, and it's the reverse of the hysteria. And it's like this valorization of Kratom rather than talking about it in plain speak. Overselling something has its issues, and we're seeing some of the consequences of that. And the industry is the lead of that, but there are this fan base. You understand the dangers of illegal drugs.
Yes.
Well, we're getting towards the end of the interview, and we like to lighten things up a little bit. And what kind of music do you listen to?
Well, I'm a 62-year-old lifelong Detroiter, so Motown, obviously. But I can say that I listen in my car full blast to pop music. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm a great car dancer, but mostly Motown.
And how does a family of 9, how do you guys, do you ever travel together?
Actually, we take a trip every year. We all meet because everybody, we have kids in California, in Colorado. Once every year, we all get together, 9 kids and all their partners and our delicious new grandson. And we all go somewhere. And this year we're meeting in Hocking Hills, Ohio to see what is really heaven in the middle of Ohio.
Me and my brothers took our kids there. Yeah, we did that at the August of the pandemic. We were camping, we were outside, everybody was still social distancing, but they had just lifted some of the things. And it's a beautiful place, and hopefully there'll be enough rain. It's a little bit better when the streams are flowing there. There's a lot of waterfalls.
Yeah, we just enjoy, the 21 of us together.
Yes.
It's really great. I don't know how I did it, but I have 9 really nice grown adult people, and they have really magnificent partners. So we're very fortunate.
That's wonderful. Well, is there anything you would like to add before we say goodbye?
If you're out there and you are struggling, I don't care how you do it, get the help you need before it's too late. Any way to get it is a good way. We're one of the good ways, but there's plenty of them. We are a wonderful resource also, not just for people that come here. We also get phone calls from people who just want advice on another way to do it. And we're happy to give that advice too. So you can always call us. There's someone who answers the phone here all the time, and we're all very experienced professionals. So if you ever just need a listening ear or a person to run something by, we're here to help.
Well, thank you, Laura, for ending on such a positive note, and thank you.
And thank you for having me.